Here we have the replacement of the display on an iPhone X. Right, so here we go. So we need to remove the two pentalobe screws from the bottom. This is the second one I've done today and recorded. The first one was a few interruptions, but hopefully this one will be a bit more peaceful. So first of all, as I say, remove the pentalobe screws. This is similar to the last one, actually the same owner. The screen is smashed and it's got no display at all. With the pentalobe screws removed, what we can do then is put the opening tool in the bottom of the case to separate it. Again, I believe this one has also had the screen replaced before. So if I find any sort of resistance, then we'll just heat up the heat gun and soften the adhesive. But if this goes in okay, which it appears it is going to go in okay, I'm going to score around just with the point of the opening tool, and it's going around okay, so there's no need to soften the adhesive. So just score around it, open it up a little bit, and being careful on this side for the because you've got the cables for the display. So we again score up this side, give it a little shake, separate it a little bit, and just try and score at the top as well, just the adhesive where the adhesive sticks at the top, and it should separate okay then. So just give it a little bit of a push out, cut through the remaining adhesive and unfold it. Any resistance, just have a look, see if there's any tape that's keeping it stuck in there. Cut it away, and now we get it open. And as you can see, this one has been already replaced. It's got a little warranty sticker inside. So now what we can do is remove the screws from this little bracket here using a little 3-point screwdriver, which we normally used with the iPhone 7 upwards. Pop the screws to one side, remembering to put them in order so you know what goes back where, so we don't do any damage later. You can just try and remove this warranty sticker. Mentioned before in other videos with the iPhones, especially with the iPhone X and above, there's a lot of different qualities out there for a lot of different prices. This is going to be an OLED, a hard OLED that's going to be going on here, which is an average screen. There are much more expensive screens out there. I think these are around probably about 120, 30 euros. You can pay 200, 250 euros or whatever for an OLED screen. What we're going to do now is going to remove the battery, which is the third connector from the bottom. Just get the nail underneath it and flick it away so there's no contact, and then just get onto the second connector from the bottom, the first connector for the screen, just flick that up, and then the one next to it, the first one on the back row for the screen also, so we'll just pop that off. We've also got the front camera assembly here. Sorry about the Face ID assembly here. So that's the second one down, so we can flick that off. Right, so we've disconnected the screen. What we also have is, like as I say, is the Face ID, this assembly here. So that is the second one down from the back here, so we've clicked that off. You need to be careful on the screens that haven't been changed before, because there's quite a sticky piece of adhesive underneath here, If you go pulling away at it, you've got a good chance you'll break the flex or do some damage, and the Face ID won't work when you put it all back together again. So this one, as it's already been changed, I'm just going to tease my little opening tool underneath the cable and flick it up. That's came off okay. If it does give any kind of resistance, another thing you can do is just heat it up and it comes off straight away. It's not a problem. But you need to be careful, because once the Face ID is broken, it's a big problem to get it fixed afterwards. So do a little bit of care to take it off. You make sure you don't have problems later. So we can take that away. So what we have now is we have these 3 screws to take away on this assembly. So again, we can just take them away and store them to one side. As with the other one that I did earlier today, as this has been replaced before, there's a good chance that this will come off very easily. If not, apply a little bit of heat. Also has a little bracket on the second one here, so you need to make sure you take the bracket with you, and obviously it goes back on again when you put it all back together again. So we just have a little look. And there's a little bit of resistance there, so what I prefer to do is just to apply a little bit of heat, just to ensure that we don't do any damage. So again, I'll put 150 and 60, 58, 60 air. So I'm just going to tease it underneath here, just to warm it up, to soften the adhesive. Can't see very well there, I'll just move it over. There, so I'm just going underneath and just warming it up. It will come off almost by itself there. There, that's come away. As I say, that's come away very easily, but even on one that's not been taken off before, if you apply a bit of heat to it, and you're careful and gentle, then generally come off okay without too much hassle. So just pop that back over there. Right, so we have the new screen. As I say, this is a GX OLED. Lots of, like I say, there's lots of versions going around, lots of prices, and sometimes it's a bit confusing for anyone that's to buy them, because they're not sure what they're getting or what they're paying for. But these are generally a good screen without going crazy. So we've got the battery disconnected, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this on first just to make sure that the screen is okay before we get it all fixed in. Just tease it over the connector and push it down. Can be a little bit troublesome, but they should just clip into place eventually. Clipped. Pop the battery on. I'm just going to fire it up just to make sure that the screen is okay before we go any further. Hopefully we've got some battery. Yep. Okay. Mess about Face ID, but we're not worried about that. I actually don't have the code for this phone, but I can see that at least all the colouring is okay and it's responding to my touch, so we'll go ahead with that. So we can turn that down, turn it off. Again, release the battery. Flick off the connectors. Just be very careful to flick the connectors off without doing do any other damage. It's a little bit tricky sometimes, the one that's sunken down. But that's got it. So let's set this to one side, and now we can just pop the Face ID assembly over. And that literally just sits on top of the screw holes. Very simple, not a lot of messing around really. As I mentioned, you can have some nightmares sometimes with the earlier iPhones from 8 and below with a proximity sensor or light sensor. But when you put it to your face and you during a call and the screen not turning itself off, you can have a bit of a battle with that sometimes. But at least with this, just as long as you pop it on where the screw holes go, it generally just works. So we'll pop the screws in. Can be a bit tricky sometimes to get them in place. So tiny. We'll just resort to a little bit of assistance with the scope. Save messing around. So, save time and effort. Let's get the scope on it, and then we know where we're going then. Something that can be handy as well is the little the magnifying glasses with the light, which also help in these situations if you don't want the expense of you can't justify the expense of a microscope. And we also have the one with a little bracket, so we can put the bracket on with the tweezers. The screw in. Okay, so that's all the 3 screws in. This is when the microscope comes into its own, even for these silly little jobs. Away. So now we have everything connected. What I'm going to do is just connect everything up again, just make sure it's all okay and the Face ID is working. And then what we'll do is I'm going to clean around the outside of here and replace this adhesive. Okay, so that's that connected. A bit of support for the screen, and then we'll just be careful to position the Face ID connector, not to damage the cable or the flex, not to put any extra stress on it. Okay, that's all in place. Connect battery. Away. Cable's not put in properly or not quite sat down, so we just pop it off. Have to release the battery. Right. battery off. That's the one. It sort of sat on there, but it wasn't quite down in place. So let's try that again. Typical. Okay, that should do. Just check the movement's okay, and then we'll just take the screen off, clean around the case, replace the adhesive, and get it all sat back down. There we go, so that's fine now. Okay, so now we know it's sort of okay. Pop it off. Carefully lift it off. Battery first. Screen, and then again the second one down, which is the Face ID. Okay, so we can see that to one side now. And what we've got is just around the outside of the case. Just going to clear off the adhesive that's there. Again, this will not be have any water resistance in the future, but the tape does help the screen sit down in place. And possibly it will help a little bit for any little shocks, a little bit of cushioning for any shocks. Although it doesn't seem to be helped up to now, as at least this is at least the second screen this has had. So it hasn't helped up to now. So just clear off the last little bit. That's pretty much it. Okay, so we've got this tape here, which is somewhere I think it's 1mm. So I can run that around. You can buy templates that fit the phone. Also, when you buy a place to do the screens, you can buy templates of the adhesive. this works just as well. Well, or at least it works well at least. And finally the top. Right, so that will do. So all we need to do now is just push the saw down, take off the backing. Sorry about the jumpy camera. Okay, so that's all done. So what I do also, what I do is just put a mark on the screen so I know it came from me for the future. Just in case anyone ever comes back with a part that I never fitted. Okay, that should be there. Just pop on the front assembly connector. And as before, we just give it a quick test before we start screwing things down and realising that something's not on properly. So just pop it on, give it a final test. We need the power in there again. That's okay, so movement's okay. We're ready to go. So now we can fix everything down. So find a little tap down, make sure all the connections, because it can be possible sometimes that in flicking one of the connectors up you disturb something else, so it's best just to give them all a try. Just make sure everything's sat down. Just give it a little bit of a wipe. Any little thumb marks or greasy marks. Okay, I can pop on there a little bracket to fix this down. Pop all the screws back in the same order. Final one just behind the connector here, behind the flex cable. So that's all sat down in place. So we'll just remove the power for the moment. So now we can just hook the screen in, pop it down. So just hook it in. We're putting a little bit of pressure upwards to move the screen sort of upwards, and then what I tend to have to do is just get something on the bottom and just give it a little very slight push from the bottom without putting too much, because you don't want to crack or damage the screen, and that sits down in place. So just give it a little push down to make contact with the double-sided tape adhesive, and pop in the pentalobe screws. And there you go. And again, pop it on, do a final test. Make sure it's all sat down nicely. That's on. Working. All sorted for now. Okay, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Thank you.